My name is Edgar Barrales, and I am going to be presenting on the American University of Rome, Italy program. And right before we start, I'd like to just say a couple things about myself. I actually graduated from the American University of Rome back in 2011 with an BA in Italian Studies. And since then, I've worked in the Student Life Office as a Student Life Coordinator and Study Abroad Officer. So I'm the person that works closely with incoming study abroad students. So it's a pleasure to present not only the program, but also a few details about the city of Rome and just things overall that you should be looking forward to. Here we have just some fast facts about the American University of Rome. We are actually a small private liberal arts university located in the city of Rome. And we were founded back in 1969, and since then we've just grown to basically host about 500 students per semester. So that's the average number of students that visit us per semester. In the summer, we tend to have fewer students, but more or less that's the number, 500 students per semester. And it's a very diverse, multicultural campus. We have students from different parts of the world, but of course the language of instruction is English, with the exception of the Italian language courses. So one of the main ideas, right, the mission of the university is to basically use Rome as the classroom. So if you are interested in taking courses in archaeology and classics, art history, film, digital media, Rome is the perfect location to do that, right? Because what better way to study antiquity, right, history, than to be in the city of Rome. So we try to use Rome as our classroom, but of course there are other opportunities to learn on site, maybe through an academic one-credit weekend trip through the business department or other departments. Now, as I mentioned, we do host students for semester, but we also have the opportunity in terms of 2 summer sessions. So essentially the 2 summer sessions, the first one takes place during the month of June, whereas the second one takes place during the month of July. So you're able to study abroad with us, whether it's for a semester, a summer session, or both summer sessions if you're a bit adventurous. More about the American University of Rome. We currently offer 10 Bachelor of Arts degrees that cover archaeology and classics, art history, business administration, communications, English, writing, publishing, fine arts, interdisciplinary studies, international relations, film, digital media, and travel and tourism. On top of that, we also have 16 concentrations, 23 minors, and we also have a graduate school that offers 3 Master of Arts degrees. And a couple, one of them focuses on peace studies, the other one on sustainable cultural heritage, and then there's food studies. So our campus actually sits on top of the Janiculum Hill, one of the many hills in Rome. It's a very quiet residential area where we are located, and we are conveniently located along 2 bus lines that basically service the area and take students into the city of Rome. We've actually sat on top of the Janiculum Hill since the 1990s. Before that, we just sort of moved around the city of Rome. Back in 1969, when we were first founded, we actually were in a small room down near the Spanish Steps, but since then we've moved around the city, and in the early 90s, we moved to our current location, the Janiculum Hill. So why the American University of Rome? Well, one of the first points that you need to consider is the fact that we are an accredited institution. We have our accreditation through the Middle States Commission on Higher Education, so we are a university recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, so the credits are transferred quite easily to any other institution. And then, as I mentioned previously, the fact that we try to use Rome as our classroom, right? So if you are enrolled in an Arts of Renaissance and Baroque course, the professor will be taking students down to the St. Peter's and other important places. And then also the fact that we have many career-focused opportunities. I did mention that the business department offers academic field trips throughout Italy. They also have lecturers come and talk about their fields. We have field trips also within Rome and Italy through the IR department, and oftentimes they also offer field trips throughout Europe. In the past, they've gone to regions like the Basque region. At one point, they went to Africa, but that was during the winter break. So there are a lot of opportunities to, again, explore not only the content in terms of business or IR, but also go and visit places like the United Nations, NATO offices, and so forth. And then also the fact that AUR offers a lot of resources to ensure your success. So we do have a lot of the resources that you may find back home. May it be a help desk if you need extra help with math or Italian studies, right, to improve your language. And we also have a doctor on campus, a counselor on campus, and other useful resources to, of course, see you succeed, both academically and socially. And we do have a student life office that basically assists you throughout your semester or summer session. So from the moment you land in Rome, we're the first staff members that you see. Will pick you up, take you into your accommodation, get you checked in, go over orientation, and of course assist as necessary throughout the semester. So these are just a couple of the fields that our courses cover. So as you can see, the focus is the liberal arts, the humanities. So I myself actually graduated in Italian studies. So I took a lot of the Italian language courses, but I also minored in art history. But as you can see, you can choose from a lot of different disciplines here. So whether you're a poli-sci major or a finance major, you can always look into those courses, or if you are looking at fulfilling electives, you can do that as well at AUR. And here are just a few of the courses that we offer throughout the year. Now, the interesting part of some of these courses is that there may be an on-site component, whether it's Italian sketchbook, as you can see in the first photograph, students that went to Piazza Navona to sketch buildings or other things. But you may have, for example, a course that focuses on Renaissance art in Florence. So since we are located in Rome, you will be studying the art of Florence in the classroom, but maybe at some point during the semester, there will be a field trip to Florence. So yes, you do have to bear that in mind. So if there is a field trip involved, the professors will let you know ahead of time. That way you can plan around that. And moving on to the other courses that we can see here, Sports Society, Sicily Against the Mafia is a weekend 1-credit course. So a lot of students do end up taking that course for just the 1 credit, or you can also go just for fun. I actually went on that trip twice, the first time for credit and the second time just for fun, because it was just an amazing course that, of course, talked about the mafia in Sicily, the literature, and just the fight against that. So these courses really open your eyes to many things that are part of Italian culture and other things. So moving on to some of the bureaucratic aspects of studying abroad. So once you are ready to study abroad at AUR, and once you have submitted your application and have been approved to study abroad at AUR, one of the first things that you will have to complete is basically your application for a study visa if you are coming to AUR for a semester, meaning that you are staying for more than 90 days. Now, if you do not have a European passport, okay, so if you are not an EU citizen, you will have to get a study visa back home prior to your departure for Rome, okay, if you're staying in Italy for more than 90 days. And the application process does require some time, but again, once you've been accepted, that's the first thing you will need to work on. And AUR will issue enrollment letters in Italian for you to take to the Italian consulate embassy in the States or in your home country. That way you can apply for the study visa. And once you have obtained the study visa, you will need to register online, okay? And that basically completes step 2. And step 3 would be applying for the permit to stay. Now, the permit to stay is something completely different from the study visa. It's something that you must do upon arrival in Rome, but of course, AUR will assist you with that. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. There is an extra fee. I believe it's 165 euros that you need to pay for the permit to stay, but again, you will take care of this upon arrival in Rome. Okay, if you are coming to us for a summer session and you are a US citizen, there is no need to obtain a study visa. And if you are coming to us this summer session, we will of course provide an enrollment letter to prove that you are enrolled as a student at AUR. Okay, even though you don't need a visa, but you still need some kind of proof to show that you're a student in order to come to Rome this summer. And once you have applied and obtained a study visa, there are a number of things that you also need to complete on top of that. That would be the housing application. So once you're ready to apply for housing, you will need to submit a housing application. All right, pretty straightforward. You'll provide your name. If you have a roommate preference, you'll be able to provide that on that application. And I'll talk about housing in a bit. And on top of the housing application, you will need to submit your arrival details. So students are asked to check in on an assigned arrival date. So it is important that you arrive in Rome on your assigned arrival date. And that just makes it easier for us to check you in. Bear in mind that we do work with a lot of institutions, not only in the United States, but across the world that send students to us for a study abroad experience. Okay, but we also have our own degree-seeking students that check in during arrivals week. So it's busy. So therefore, we ask that you check in on your assigned arrival date to just make sure that everything goes smoothly. And once you basically land in Rome, you will be met by AUR staff that will check you in. We will hand you a welcome packet that outlines what's going on in terms of mandatory and optional activities. So you will also know your housing assignment, okay? And one of the things about the housing assignments, as I said, is that unfortunately, basically, we can't release those assignments until you land in Rome because, as you can imagine, there are always last-minute changes. So again, the housing assignment, you will find out when you land in Rome. And once you're all checked in at the airport, we'll check you into housing. And the first day is reserved for you to get settled into housing, get to know your roommates, make sure to let your parents or legal guardians know that you have arrived in Rome. And on top of that, we also have neighborhood tours scheduled throughout the evening. And this is something useful for students and help them, get acclimated with the city of Rome and get to know other students that will be studying at AUR during the semester. In terms of orientation activities, so as I mentioned before, there is student life activity that is mandatory, which is the orientation. And during the orientation, we will go over straightforward policies implemented at AUR in terms of academics and other things. We will also talk about the sexual harassment, discrimination policies, alcohol and drug awareness, and the different resources available to you during your semester or summer session. On top of that, we will have a safety and security briefing done by the US Embassy. And we understand that not all the students that come to us are US citizens, but what the information that the embassy gives you, that's information that any embassy can give you. And it's pretty straightforward, common sense information that we've heard our entire lives, like don't take candy from strangers, don't get too close to that van with the cute puppies. And it's just straightforward stuff to help you understand and just consider awareness while you're studying abroad. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we will complete the permit to stay process, okay? AUR housing. In terms of AUR housing, we do not have the typical dormitories that we would see back in the United States or in other countries, but we do have our furnished apartments in the surrounding areas near the university. And a lot of the apartments where we house students They are in buildings where Italian families live. So you're not living in just one building alongside AUR students, okay, students going to AUR. You are going to be living alongside Italian families. Maybe there's a law office or another type of office next to you. But I think that this setup is quite unique because it really encourages you to be independent. Yes, you may have another student unit right across from you or above you or below you, but just an FYI, the fact that you will be living alongside Italian families. Now, the transit time between the university and the student units, it ranges. It's usually between 15 to 25 minutes. Most of the housing is along a tram line and a bus line that will take you up the hill to where AUR is. But just again, it usually takes about 15 to 25 minutes to get from the housing to the university. And that's pretty straightforward. It's normal for Rome. You'll see that people tend to walk everywhere. I myself walk from where I live. I don't live in student housing, but it takes me about 15 to 25 minutes to get to AUR from where I live. In terms of roommates, so as of fall 2020, okay, we basically switched around things in housing when it comes to how many students we house in housing. And given the fact that we have COVID going on right now, social distancing must be respected. We have basically up until now have housed in each unit no more than 4 students, okay? And since each apartment traditionally has about 2 to 3 bedrooms, meaning that could potentially have 4 students in there until now, we've decided to do that, to give basically students their single rooms to maintain social distancing. That could change come fall 2021, but we are still in the process of confirming that. And of course, we will keep everyone posted on any changes to the housing assignments there, okay? But you will be basically assigned to units with other AUR students. If there are any roommate preferences, we do ask that you let us know as soon as possible. This also includes anything that is important that we should know of. In the past, for example, we've had students that said, look, I'm allergic to pollen. I'd like to be up on a higher floor away from trees. Let us know. That way we can look into what the the solutions are, and of course get back to you if we have any further questions or concerns. We do have gender inclusive housing that you can opt for, and that is all expressed in the housing booklet that you will need to sign and submit before you arrive in Rome, okay? And in terms of just what is included in housing, so basically, as I said before, each unit has 2 to 3 bedrooms. Pre-COVID, we would house up to 6 students per unit, but given the fact that we do have to maintain social distancing and whatnot, we, as I said, have kept that off at 4 students for now. So students do need to share the common spaces like the kitchen, okay? The kitchen does have basic kitchenware. There is a lounge, a living room where there's a sofa, a table, you can sit there and study, and 2 bathrooms. Most of the units do have balconies. We don't have any dryers in housing. One of the reasons is because it just consumes a lot of electricity. What we do have are washing machines. So after you wash your clothes, you can dry them on drying racks. And there is a housing agency that looks after these apartments. So basically they provide routine maintenance and any assistance whatsoever that requires immediate attention. So an emergency phone essentially, okay? And these are basic furnishings here that are included. So table, chairs, okay, single beds, linens, Wi-Fi, washing machine. And there is also weekly cleaning But in terms of cleaning, the cleaning staff, they are not in charge of washing dishes. They can't do that. What they will do is they will clean, wipe down the surfaces, sweep, mop, and they'll basically leave the trash next to the door for you to take out. Okay, so that cleaning service is available once a week. Moving on to the health services available at AUR, we do have a doctor on campus that visits students 2 or 3 times a week. And if students are taking medication back home, we do recommend that they reach out to their physician to just understand how that will play out when studying abroad. And if need be, we can put the student in touch with our doctor beforehand to make sure that the services, whatever the services the student needs, will be available in Rome. Okay. In the past, we've had students that were following treatment and they reached out before they got here and they were able to continue the treatment while in Rome. Okay, so this is stuff that you will need to let us know as soon as you can, okay, to make sure that everyone is on the same page and that the services are available to you. Okay, and basically our doctor, it's quite simple to book an appointment with them. All you have to do is just reach out to Student Life, send an email, all confidential, and we'll go ahead and make an appointment for you. Okay. And if our doctor needs to refer you to a specialist, there are a number of English-speaking specialists in the area or at other places where you can go and see them. And at the start of the presentation, I did mention the fact that we do have a counseling service available to students, and that works more or less the same as a doctor. Our counselor, Dr. Irene Añelo, she sees students 3 times a week, and she's available throughout the entire semester for just any type of counseling. And of course, if you need to see another healthcare professional, then of course that is also available. Okay. And we also have we have this private service, but it is private, and it's a group of English-speaking doctors called Med in Action, and they have offices all over Italy, and they offer private service for students that if our doctor is not available and you need to see someone, you could go and speak with the Med in Action people. They will come to wherever it is that you need them to go to, so your apartment, library, wherever it is that you find yourself. And since it is a private service, there is an extra fee to pay for that. And we also have hospitals in the area. There's the Salvator Mundi private hospital down the street, and you can go and see a specialist there if need be. If it's a true emergency, the equivalent of a 911 emergency, you need to go to the emergency room. Of course, you can dial the 112, which is the equivalent of 911, and of course, you will receive immediate treatment in the emergency room. Okay. We also have a university emergency number available for students, and that number is basically switched on once campus closes. And it remains switched on throughout the weekend and including national holidays. So students can call that number if they need to get a hold of someone. I actually have the emergency phone this week, and it rang earlier today, and it was just a minor housing situation. So I asked the students to basically reach out to the housing agency. And just a few more slides. Moving on to the other opportunities available to students during the semester and summer sessions. We do offer field trips, and these are completely optional. You are more than welcome to sign up. During a normal semester, we offer 2 weekend field trips and 1 day excursion. So the first weekend field trips takes us down south to the area of Pompeii. And so basically we leave on Friday morning, we head down south, and we check into our hotel in Sorrento, and students then have the afternoon to go for a swim in Sorrento, explore the town and so forth. The following day we take the ferry across to where Capri is, the famous island of Capri, and students essentially have the entire day to explore the island and do other things. And then on Sunday, we check out of our hotel and go to Pompeii. So at Pompeii, there is a guided tour of the excavations, and then after that, we head back to Rome. The second weekend field trip takes us north to Florence. So on the first day, we make a quick stop in Pisa. The following day, we spend a few hours in Florence. And then on the third day, we go to this agriturismo, this estate where we have a cooking lesson. There is also a chance to just hear, understand the history behind the winemaking process there, and we sit down for a traditional Tuscan meal. And then the day trip takes us to the town of Assisi. So there's a guided tour of Assisi that goes on for like an hour, and then there's a few hours of just free time to roam around the town. So these excursions take place during the regular semester, fall and spring. During the summer, we do offer the Pompeii and the Florence weekend trips. Assisi, unfortunately, since we're only dealing with a month, right, per summer session, we don't have the time to do Assisi, okay? There may be a variation when it comes to the weekend trips according to the summer session. For example, summer session 1, I believe we do make a stop in Pisa during the Tuscan weekend trip, but during summer session 2, we don't make a stop in Pisa because it's just impossible to get there. So there's an alternative, which is Siena. Okay, so it just depends. And I actually uploaded the flyers with more information under the file folder. And then moving on to student life organizations, student clubs. So these are just a few images of the student organizations that we have on campus. So as you can see here, we have yoga, okay? And then in the middle here, we have a group of students that are part of the student government and the film club. We also have the diversity club and the LGBTQ plus club. And here at the bottom, we have the business club. And in the middle down here with the dog, the volunteer club. And last but not least, Casa Scalabrini, and that's also part of the volunteer club. So Casa Scalabrini basically works with children. I think this is when AUR raised some funds for Casa Scalabrini, and they donated the money. So there's a lot going on in terms of just extracurricular activities. I do suggest taking part in these because it looks good on a resume, and it helps you integrate into just, you know, what's going on into Italian life, right? The fact that you're able to meet other people and help other people above all. And if you want to join one of these organizations, all you have to do is basically sign up at the activities fair, which takes place during the first week of classes. And then we have the ResGrad program. And what's the ResGrad program? The ResGrad program started out 15 years ago, and the mission was to basically have a group of AUR students, so upperclassmen, students that have been at AUR for about at least 2 years, and have them act as peer mentors, and also have them organize events for students on a student budget, of course. So throughout the semester, they organize events, they have cooking lessons, guided tours of Rome, or other activities. For example, down here, they had like an arts and craft activity here. And again, they are there to help students, you know, in whatever way they can. And of course, they can provide insight into what's going on in Rome, maybe how to get from one place to another, especially during the first few days, okay? So that is also available there. And then AUR sports. I think this is the last or second slide. So these are just some of the sports opportunities that we have on campus. We have yoga, we have a running club, and we also have a partnership with a local gym, and study abroad students can go to this gym. There is a fee. Can't remember the exact cost. I believe it's 140 euros per semester. And if you are here for a summer session right now, unfortunately, the gym is closed due to COVID regulations, but once they are up and running, students will be able to go there. They just need to show their AUR card, and they can sign up directly and pay directly to the gym. Okay, but during the summer sessions, they are open. I think they close sometime in mid-July, but again, it's just a question of going there and confirming the hours. And finally, these are the other sport activities that we do have available at AUR. There is a female and male soccer team, and it's not the traditional 11 versus 11. Instead, it's the so-called calcetto, so 5 versus 5. I think it's more competitive, more intense. I've actually played it a couple times, and yeah, it's a lot to handle. And we also have a volleyball team and a basketball team here. And in order to sign up, all you need to do is just show up at the activities fair. There is a fee to pay to get involved in soccer and volleyball and basketball. For the jersey, okay, you have to pay a fee for the jersey, and then also for the physical. Okay. So what's the next step? If you're interested in coming to Rome to study abroad, talk with your advisor. Okay. So here's our contact information. So Katie is the contact person, okay, at the International Programs Office at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. And here's my contact information here. And thank you for your attention. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thanks so much for presenting us a great and informative presentation. I think students will really get a lot out of watching it. So I don't have any questions right off the bat. Nee, do you have anything you can think to ask? If you do, feel free to ask. Otherwise, go ahead.
Sure. I wasn't sure if overall cost was mentioned this. So if I was going there for a semester as a student, how much would I should be saving in terms of what food would cost overall? I mean, if I'm looking to do other excursions besides that, like what would be, looking to spend wise? Because I know students are always looking at costs.
Exactly, yes. That's a great question. And Katie, do you want to address the program cost?
Yeah. So I'll have to double check what the costs have been in the past. But I believe like the program costs is an average of 10,000, give or take. But that doesn't include the housing cost because that's paid separately to AUR. But that can vary a little bit from semester to semester, and we haven't solidified the cost for this coming fall semester just because of things being very uncertain with COVID and everything. But yeah, you can kind of estimate for this program, and like any program can be anywhere from like 10,000 to like 17,000 if you include housing and all program costs. And of course, if there's any like other travel you want to do, definitely looking to budget that. Edgar can probably talk more to that point, but I do know like once you're in Europe, it is a little bit more affordable to travel throughout Europe. But kind of planning for those costs as well.
Yeah, so in terms of traveling in Europe, it's relatively cheap. It's actually cheaper compared to the States. I remember one time I took a flight from Boston to Miami. It was like $400. I was like, okay, that's way too much. But here in Europe, the most I've spent on a round trip flight to another European country was probably like 80 euros. Of course, this was through one of those low cost airlines. I'm sure you've probably read up on Ryanair, EasyJet, and other companies. The only issue with those companies is that yes, they'll sell you a ticket for nothing, but then they'll get you somehow because they'll only allow you to carry on that's like this big. So you have to either like layer up or pay an extra fee for luggage. So yes, you could travel for basically nothing around Europe, and that has never stopped study abroad students. It's actually a pity because at the end of the semester, I always ask students like, how many weekends did you spend in Rome? Like, well, actually, out of what is it, 14 weekends, I believe is a semester, they only end up spending like 3 or 4 weekends because every weekend they're off to like Paris, Munich, and so forth. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but definitely make an effort to explore the city of Rome because there's so much to see. After 13 years of living in this country, I still have not seen everything in Rome. And especially now, since there aren't a lot of people coming to Italy for tourism because it's not allowed. But students are allowed to come here, so it's a great opportunity to explore the city with not a lot of people going around. In terms of food and other expenses, there are a lot of supermarkets in the areas where the housing is, and food is quite cheap here. I can't really give you an exact number as to how much a typical student would spend. I myself budget probably around less than 100 euros per week, but that's like stretching it a bit. But it all depends on what your budget is, and you can definitely make it work with any budget. There are a lot of open air markets where you may find produce, other items a couple cents cheaper than supermarkets, but if you go to any supermarket, you can probably shop at a quite reasonable budget. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you for that.
No worries.
Anything else anybody can think of for questions or that we want to mention? Otherwise, I think we can close on. I'll stop recording here.